The Nile, a ribbon of life winding through Africa, shaping the destiny of nations for millennia. For thousands of years, the Nile's floods turned desert into fertile land, giving rise to great civilizations. Its waters fed millions, supported trade, and inspired worship. Today, the Nile remains the lifeblood of over 300 million people. But new dams, like the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, threaten to shift the balance of power. Tensions rise as nations compete for its waters. The Nile is more than a river. It is survival, prosperity, and power. Ethiopia's Grand Renaissance Dam, or GIRD, was built to harness the Blue Nile's power and transform the nation's future. It became a symbol of hope and pride, promising electricity and development. Funded largely by Ethiopians, GIRD represents self-reliance, yet its rise sparked concerns from downstream countries, turning Ethiopia's dream into a regional challenge. Egypt, led by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, relies on the Nile for more than 90% of its fresh water, a lifeline for over 100 million people. For generations, the river has nourished Egypt's fields, filled its taps, and shaped its civilization. Historic agreements, like the 1929 and 1959 Nile water treaties, granted Egypt the lion's share of the river's flow, reinforcing its sense of entitlement and dependence. Today, any reduction in water flow threatens not just crops and drinking water, but the very fabric of daily life. Imagine a farmer in Aswan watching his fields dry up, or a mother in Cairo struggling to find clean water for her children. These fears are not abstract. Egyptians worry about food shortages, rising prices, and even mass migration if the Nile's flow drops. Ethiopia insists the GIRD was built responsibly, but Egypt remains deeply concerned about rapid filling, mismanagement, and the possibility of a future where the Nile can no longer sustain its people. Sudan, governed by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, finds itself caught in the middle of a high-stakes regional dispute. As the Nile's waters ebb and flow, Sudanese communities face devastating floods that destroy homes and livelihoods, followed by crippling water shortages that threaten crops and daily life. Khartoum's attempts to mediate between Ethiopia and Egypt are fraught with difficulty, balancing the interests of two powerful neighbors while trying to protect its own people. Internally, Sudan grapples with political instability, economic hardship, and the challenge of uniting a divided nation, all while the consequences of the Nile's changing flow weigh heavily on its future. Donald Trump openly voiced support for Egypt's concerns over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, even suggesting that Egypt might be forced to take drastic action if its water security faced threats. The Trump administration attempted to mediate between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan, hosting talks in Washington and pushing for a diplomatic solution. However, Ethiopia perceived the process as biased and ultimately walked away from the negotiations. The international community took notice. World leaders and organizations like the United Nations and the African Union called for restraint and dialogue, urging all sides to avoid escalation. The dispute quickly became a flashpoint for broader geopolitical tensions, with global powers watching closely, aware that the outcome could set a precedent for transboundary water conflicts elsewhere. In the end, Trump's involvement added urgency and visibility to the crisis, but the real challenge remains, finding a way to balance national development with survival across borders and generations. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is, without exaggeration, a technological marvel. Stretching 1.8 kilometers across the Blue Nile and standing 145 meters tall, GIRD is one of Africa's largest hydroelectric projects. Its massive concrete structure holds back a reservoir capable of storing over 74 billion cubic meters of water. Inside, 16 powerful turbines are designed to generate more than 5,000 megawatts of electricity, enough to double Ethiopia's current power supply and potentially export energy to neighboring countries. Engineers have incorporated advanced spillway systems and sediment control measures to minimize harm downstream, aiming to balance energy production with environmental stewardship. For Ethiopia, GIRD is absolutely essential, not just for electrifying homes and industries, but for fueling economic growth and lifting millions out of poverty. Yet the dam's sheer scale and control over the Nile's flow have raised serious concerns in Egypt and Sudan, who fear reduced water supplies and ecological disruption. Every operational decision, from filling the reservoir to managing seasonal flows, carries enormous consequences for the entire region's future. Colonial-era treaties, like those from 1929 and 1959, gave Egypt and Sudan most of the Nile's waters, excluding Ethiopia and other upstream nations. For Egypt, these treaties are vital for survival. But Ethiopia calls them outdated and unfair, demanding a new, equitable agreement. The debate over these treaties fuels today's tensions, a struggle between historical rights and present-day justice. The GIRD is, frankly, more than just a dam. It is a flashpoint, a test of diplomacy, and a question of survival. Over the years, Ethiopia, Egypt, and Sudan have engaged in countless rounds of negotiations, sometimes with the African Union or the United Nations mediating, sometimes with the United States or the European Union stepping in. Yet despite these efforts, talks have repeatedly stalled, with each nation holding firm to its vital interests. For Ethiopia, the dam represents progress and energy independence. For Egypt, it is a matter of water security, an existential issue, as the Nile provides over 90% of its fresh water. Sudan, caught in the middle, fears both water shortages and potential flooding. International organizations have urged compromise, but so far, no binding agreement has been reached. The stakes are high. A breakthrough could usher in a new era of cooperation, while failure risks escalating tensions or even conflict. The world watches as these nations decide how far they are willing to go to protect their lifeblood, and whether diplomacy can truly prevail. The future of the Nile hangs in the balance. Will cooperation and innovation pave the way for shared prosperity, or will mistrust and competition lead to conflict and scarcity? For millions who depend on its waters, the stakes could not be higher. Hopes for development, fears of drought, and dreams of peace all flow together in this ancient river. Can Ethiopia's right to development truly coexist with Egypt's need for water security? What role will Sudan play as a neighbor and mediator? And how much influence can outside powers, figures like Trump or even global organizations, really have in shaping the outcome? The world is watching, because the fate of the Nile is a test for international cooperation in a changing climate. What do you think is the best path forward? Could a new era of collaboration emerge, or are we headed for greater tensions? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for the latest updates on the Nile's unfolding story. Your voice matters in this global conversation.